Welcome to another truck hardware installation tutorial. Today, we're installing our new Gatorback Mudflaps on a 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. The Equinox is part of our Gatorback Mini lineup, offering all the protection in our Gatorback lineup, but for a smaller package. As always, remember that this video is to be used as a companion to the included installation instructions. Before you start, make sure that all the hardware and custom design brackets included with your kit are present and ready for installation. With all that out of the way, let's get started on the front of the vehicle. To start, remove the factory screws circled here. Next, take your flap and install the top hole of the mud flap to the factory hole circled here, using a machine screw, a flat washer, a nylon washer, and a J-clamp. Make sure to place a spacer on the back of this hardware like seen here. The J-clamp is added into the assembly to provide extra pressure against the body of the mud flap. Make sure it's positioned like seen here so that it applies pressure properly. Next, temporarily install the hole at the bottom of the flap using a machine screw and flat washer. With the flap temporarily secured, take a marker and mark where on the vehicle the final two holes sit against the fender lip. Once marked, remove the bottom fastener and pull the flap aside. Take two spring nuts and position them over the marked areas of the fender lip. Make sure the nuts on the spring nuts are facing towards the front of the vehicle. With the hardware ready, secure the flap to the spring nuts using a cap screw and the center hole of an offset washer. Then resecure the final hole of the mud flap using the same machine screw and flat washer as before. Place a spacer on the back of the flap when securing this hardware. With a square or other leveling tool, make sure the mud flap is level. We also recommend you take a step back and visually gauge the mud flap to check that it is lined correctly. Once your flap is level, secure all fasteners. We suggest you tighten this hardware by hand and be careful not to over tighten any fasteners. Your front mud flaps are now installed. Next, let's move on to the rear of the vehicle. To start, remove the factory screws from the wheel well circled here. Next, take your flap and attach the holes seen here to the factory hole circled here using a machine screw and the outside hole of an offset washer. Position a spacer on the back of this hardware while securing this part of the flap. Secure the next hole in the flap using the same hardware. With the center secured, attach the top hole of the mud flap to the vehicle using a machine screw, a flat washer, a nylon washer, and a J-clamp. Make sure to place a spacer on the back of this hardware like seen here. The J-clamp is added into the assembly to provide extra pressure against the body of the mud flap. Make sure it's positioned like seen here, so that it applies that pressure properly. Before we secure the final hole of the flap, take a second to make sure the mud flap is level. Once your flap is level, secure all fasteners. With your flap level, let's secure the final part of the flap. Using a 1/4 inch drill bit, drill through the final hole in the mud flap and into the liner behind. Attach the flap to this hole using a cap screw and a small flat washer. Secure this hardware from behind using another small flat washer, a lock washer, and a hex nut. This hardware can be seen fully installed in the following clip. With a square up leveling tool, make sure the mud flap is level. We also recommend you take a step back and visually gauge the mud flap to check that it is aligned correctly. Once your flap is level, secure all fasteners. We suggest you tighten this hardware by hand and be careful not to over tighten any fasteners. Congratulations, you've just finished installing your Gatorback mud flaps. If you found this video helpful, give us a like and subscribe. Check out the rest of our channel and website for additional tips, tricks, and installation guides. Thanks for choosing Chuck Hardware.